Hi, Mario. How are you?
Okay,
Yeah. How's your knee?
not okay.
Not okay.
No.
Not okay. I heard they want you to do surgery.
Yeah, I'm waiting for to go to another doctor. See,
Get
even
a
though
second opinion.
yeah, but I'm sure it is needed. But
Um, But Anna said that you had this 3 years ago.
well, th- that's what the doctor told me. That I saw
Right.
him 2 years ago, but he says it hasn't gotten worse.
Right.
But now in the MRI it shows that I have a rip in the meniscus.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
So I don't
And
know.
what did it show before?
He says it didn't show that. It showed some disgusting, because I also
Yeah.
have a little bit of arthritis, which everybody has,
Right.
but the pain has been
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
substantially bigger now.
Yeah.
That's why I don't go to the shul also. I can't walk that much.
Right.
You went to shul today?
Yeah. There were a lot of
Must have
people
been
because there was a bar mitzvah.
a lot of people, right?
A lot of people. There was a bar mitzvah. Yeah.
Yeah.
The boy did great. He did a great job.
Yeah?
Yeah, he langed, he davened, he made a speech. Yeah, very good.
Good.
Yeah.
That's good. Hi, Harold. Magda.
Do you know where we ended up? Where are we now?
We're going to start chapter 20.
Which one? Hello.
Where are we going to start?
ISD.
28.
How are you? How's everybody?
28?
Hello.
Hi, Walter.
Good
ISD.
luck, good luck.
Hi, how are
Hello.
you?
Good to walk, everyone.
Good
Is
luck.
This is getting a little too early these days.
Yeah, you
Okay.
need more time.
Kafchet. This is Kafchet. Going to start the first pasuk on Kafchet. Okay. Okay.
What is this thing here? What is this? What do you even mean?
Iggy, that's a good shot of you over there. I can see you perfectly. Usually I only see this part of you, but now I see your whole,
Yeah.
Sorry?
I changed rooms.
Oh, yeah, okay. No, now it's good.
That's rude. That's rude, man. Wait.
They can hear you that you're saying I'm rude.
When we start.
7:00 exactly. Hi, Bernie.
Hello,
Good
Shabbat Tov.
Good to walk, Shavua
Good
Tov.
luck.
Who's this one?
Hi, Sydney.
Danny
Hi,
comes in.
Tammy.
Hello, Mario.
Hello, everybody.
Hi, Sydney. Good to walk.
Long time no see.
Long time no see.
You're still in town? You haven't left yet?
No, I'm still here. I heard you were the killer today, Magda.
What? Oh, gosh, it was so funny.
She cheated.
What'd you
No,
do?
She
Like
won all the
six-
games in Mahjong.
Mahjong. Oh. So where's your
It was so
crown?
funny.
I get a score when Marcia comes home.
Where are you, Sydney?
Me, I'm home. McCann.
Okay.
Baby, you joining in there too?
What, in Mahjong?
Marshawn, I need the
I won
beginning
one game, one
Oh, you-
game.
there, okay. And I was Sandy, she flaked out on me.
Yes.
Yeah, Sandy wants to have a group.
I know, she's teaching me, but she flaked out this week.
Oh,
Hey, you gotta get back into it.
I want to join the group again.
definitely. Hello, get the ball, Barbara.
Tavach, how are you?
Good,
Nice
good.
to see you.
So,
Mario,
yeah,
how are you?
okay.
You're not okay. I heard you were not in shul last week, but I didn't ask about last week, but today you were not in shul.
No, my knee is killing me.
I heard.
Hi.
What are you doing for it?
I'm gonna have surgery, but I have to. I'm gonna do another doctor to see if
Who's your doctor? My husband has a good doctor. Who's your doctor?
I went first to a guy called Gitlin, and I'm going to another guy called Eitan Devi.
Is it Dr. Pennenberg?
I know Brad Pennenberg. Was he a knee doctor? Maybe.
Yes, yes, he's excellent. He's
Left or right
outstanding.
knee?
What's the
Which
name?
knee, Mario?
Eh?
Which knee? It's your knees?
The left one.
The left knee. Find a left knee specialist.
Yeah. And it's the inside of the knee, so it's
yeah.
very more.
Too much soccer.
Yeah, I haven't played soccer for 70 years.
But it builds up.
Yeah. It's like sound in your ears, right? Was it doctor in surgery?
Eh?
Where's Ernie?
The doctor's in surgery, probably.
Oh, no.
Okay, everybody
Well, this
sees
morning.
I'm taking me off the video because I'm lying down here.
For the design.
Hi, Bernie. How are you?
Good, thank you.
I took myself off the video. I'm lying here with my feet up. So it doesn't pass.
Oh, here's Ernie and
Good.
Susie.
Shavua Tov.
Where's Ellen? She hasn't been here for 2 weeks.
He has bronchitis.
Oh, my.
Wow.
Bronchitis.
Who has bronchitis?
Ellen.
Hi, Shyamka, Ernie.
Get the ball, Ernie. Get the ball.
Good
The boss is-
Good
Get the ball.
Shavua
Shavua Tov.
Hello, hello, hello.
I have to open it
On the computer.
yeah. It's a big document.
Harold,
Yes.
I read that article about Englenoff.
Yeah, amazing. No, but the house is everything.
I didn't have a dry cleaner, though.
Read that too.
You also read it?
Who could buy such a house?
Yeah, who would buy it? Who wants to clean all those rooms?
For a Kollel, it's good.
Which newspaper?
It's only meant
Wall
for
Street Journal.
foreigners. They're looking for some foreign sucker.
In the Friday Wall Street Journal, it has a review of homes, so
You see the one in Miami?
it's
No,
on two
there's one-
lots. Yeah, in Coral.
It's not in Miami, it's here.
There's another one in Miami for 150
Yeah,
million.
no, it's 2 lots.
Only a bargain.
It's a nice,
A bargain.
nice little house over there.
No, I didn't see it.
400.
Two
Oh.
houses.
But they had
Two
one in
houses,
Los
yeah.
Angeles, Harold, finish
Yeah.
the story. They had one in Los Angeles for $149 million.
Yeah, right.
That was built by Dr. Englenoff.
Yeah.
Awesome.
No, he just financed it. He took it back.
Is that Engelhoff the son of the Engelhoff in our show?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
that's Yossi.
That's what he does for a living now. He builds spec homes.
Those kind of homes.
Yeah.
He's sold a few. He's done very well. One he got stuck with, I think. He had to take back, but he was one of the first. So, get in and get out. That's the deal.
So where does he build them?
In
Bel Air,
Beverly Hills,
Beverly
Bel
Hills.
Air.
Bel Air, Beverly Hills.
Wow.
What does Shoal build? Let's read about Shoal.
Does he still work as a doctor?
I don't know.
No,
No,
He has
No,
he
not-
owns emergency rooms or something.
he doesn't do.
but his wife also worked in
Taping
emergency.
this. I think this is taped, right?
Ernie?
Okay, we're gonna start. It might be a little bit of review. We're on Chav Zion. We'll go to Pasuk Ches. We're talking about David had moved into Plishtim area with Achiv Melech Gat. And Vayal David Vanashav Vayvshetula Kshuri Vagizri Vamaleki Kihena Yeshvota Aretz Hashem Me'olam B'Achashura V'Eretz Mitzrayim. And David and his 600 men wiped out all of the Amaleki and these other two nations, which, according to most of the Meforshim, were Shiva Ha'amim, and Loichai, and they didn't keep alive men or women, because there's a mitzvah saseh of Lo Sechayek Kol Neshama and Timchet Zeichra Amalek. I also pointed out, I think last week, that when Shaul was commanded to kill the animal, he was told to kill all the animals. And we asked the question, how come there were so many Amalekim around here for David to kill here? I thought only Agag was left, right? Agag Melech Amalek was left alive. Well, how come there's so many Amalekim here? So we brought Rashi, who says, Tziv Hashem l'shol harogas behemoths Amalekim, mishum dehem hayu balei kishuv. The Amalekim practiced magic. They would turn themselves into animals. The Kivan to Shaul laharagas behemoths aplishim. So remember, Shaul left the behemoths alive. Hayu harbe Amalekim sheshinu esatzman l'tzurs behemah v'lo ne'eragu. So there were many Amalekim that reverted back to human form. They saved themselves by taking animal form. And the ones that Shaul didn't kill out are the ones that now David killed here nearby Achish Melech Gad. By the way,
Where is it? What pasuk then?
we're on Pasuk Tes. The Rambam and the Ravid hold Leka Chiyuv Laharak Amalek Im Hishlimu Yisrael. The God Kiblu Alei and Lakaim Zayin Nisas Nenoch. I never knew that. That according to the Rambam and the Ravid, who doesn't argue with him, that if an Amalek, if they make peace with Yisrael, and in Makayim, the Sheva Mitzvahs Nenoch, you don't have to kill him.
Never knew that either.
Yeah, and
Wow.
and perhaps that's why there were all these Amalekim that remained alive, and now they were killed here.
I thought it was in their genes. I thought it was a genetic.
So the Rambam and the Ravid hold differently. There's a machlokas rishonim regarding that.
Oh,
According to the Rambam and the Ravid, if they're mashlim with Yisrael and they're makabel zayin mitzvahs, you don't have to kill them. I'm surprised by that too, but that's what they bring.
Wow.
Pasuk Tes. V'nei David v'yikat David es haaretz v'lo yichaya ish v'isha v'lo kachtzon v'akar v'chamoyim u'gmalim. He took sheep and cows and donkeys and camels and begadim. Vayashav vayavol Achish. And he brought this all back to Achish Melech Gad. This showed that he was loyal to Achish. We said that the reason he killed men and women is because of the din of Sheva and Lo Sechaya Kol Neshama. And according to the opinion that to be moicha as a chamalek also involves killing men and women. Here, how did David leave all these animals alive and bring them to Achish? Because again, the din by Amalek is you're supposed to destroy all of their shalal. So the Rambam and the Chinuch is also they have a different opinion. That when Shaul was commanded back when he was told to kill out Amalek, and he was told then to kill out all the behemoths, that was a harasha. But there is no din that when you wipe out Amalek that you have to kill their assets. That's also according to the Rambam and the Ravid. Meshech Chochma brings that David is here acting as a Yochid, not as a Melech al Yisrael. And a Yochid is no mitzvah to be ma'abed the behemoths. That ain't a chanami. If they came with David as the ruler of Klal Yisrael, Melech Yisrael, then they would, as a tzibur, then they would be required to kill out the behemoths. By the way, Rav Sternbuch, the Moadim Uzmanim, says that chiyuv mechias Amalek shayich rak im milchala avdan legamri. If you have the opportunity to wipe out Amalek they're in front of you. You can wipe them all out completely. Then you have a chiyuv. So he says, like Bimei Shaul, Shadoru Kol Amalekim b'Makom Echad, all the Amalekim lived in one area. Aval Achar Kach Shnispazu l'Chol Ha'olam. But now that the Amalekim have been spread all over the world, Yefshar Od L'Kayim Mitzvos B'Chis Amalek B'Shleimusa, Ein Chiyuv Afilu Limchos Es Miktzosam. There's no chiyuv to destroy even part of Amalek. I guess Ba'achri Sayomim, they'll be gathered again and we'll wipe them out as one people. So just various different opinions regarding the Rambam clearly holds mitzvahs mechias amalek ein a mitzvah al kol yachid, el a mitzvah al tzibur. And Riz Soloveitchik says, because it's mitzvahs melchama, the lo shaykh el al pi Navi or im retumim. Just like Shmuel HaNavi told Shaul, oh, now's the time to kill Amalek. The killing of Amalek has to do al yedei Navi or Urim V'Tumim. There is no such concept of milchama by a yachid. Mechias Amalek has to do with milchama because it says milchama al Amalek, and you can't do milmak as a yachid. The Chinuch disagrees. He says mechias Amalek havi mitzvah kol yachid v'yachid, and therefore that fits well with what David did here. Or people, the Sefer Yereim says, since David HaMelech was nimshach as a melech already, so there was a little bit, he was already part of that. He knew al yedei nevuah that he was going to be melech. So therefore, the killing out the Shiva Mamim V'Amalek was sort of preparation for him taking over as the king. So we see just different opinions in how they reconcile what happened here. Vayomer Pasuk Yud, Vayomer Achish, Al Peshatetem Hayom. Rashi says that the word al, lamed is mechalfin binun. So it's on. Like he asked him, la'an, where did you go today? Vayomer David al negev Yehuda al negev hayirachmeni al negev akeni. That he went to the borderlands where these people were, and it says Yud Aleph, v'ish v'isha lo yichaya David lahavi gat lemor, pen yagidu aleinu lemor kol asa David v'chol mishpatu kol hayamim, asher yoshev b'stei plishtim. He didn't go into the detail with Achish who they were, that they were enemies of him because they were living by, so he was happy with it, and it showed the loyalty of David to Achish. Vayamin Achish b'David lemor, haveshi vish ba'amav Yisrael v'hayali levet olam. He thinks that David is fighting other Jews, and he's seeing more and more that David is an ally of him, and he's not gonna do any kind of secret deals against him. So David is in good position with Achish Melech Gas. Okay. Pasuk Perek Chafches. This is a very important perek. I'm going to give a hagdama to this perek. Up until now, in Sefer Shmuel, we were very successful in conquering the Plishtim. We know, except the first battle when Eli HaKohen was alive. So this was before the Nevuah of Shmuel. They, of course, took the Oron captive, but in the end, they got the Oron back. So that's a pretty good thing. The second Milchama was when Perek Zion, also Shmuel Kol Yisrael B'Mitzpah, and the Plishtim came, and there was a big victory by the Jews. The third Milchama of Plishtim was when Yonah's son killed the representative of Plishtim, and that also ended up in Perek Yud Gimel with a great victory over Plishtim. The fourth one was with Goliath. When David HaMelech killed Goliath, we also chased the Plishtim, and it was a big victory for Klal Yisrael. And then the last one was in Perek Chav Gimel, when the Plishtim came to Keilah, and David HaMelech saved them. However, the Plishtim's hatred to Yisrael had not lessened. Now they know that Shmuel HaNavi has died. And it's great confusion. Navi is dead. They know that David was their great champion who has fled from the country. They know that Shaul is sick. He's got this melancholy mood. There was a battle among the great people in Israel who to follow. Some followed David HaMelech, some followed Shaul. So there was like a division in Klal Yisrael. So that's why it says in the Tosefta, Masechta Sota, Yud Aleph, Kol Zman Shaya Shmuel Kayim, Plishtim Noiflim Biyad Yisrael. While Shmuel was alive, we never lost against the Plishtim. Shene'amar, Vatihi Yad Hashem bePlishtim Kol Yimei Shmuel. Mishemei Shmuel, Mahu Omar, Vayamat Shmuel, Vayasfu Plishtim Es Machaneim, Letzaval Elechem Yisrael. The connection between the death of Shmuel and all of a sudden the Plishtim deciding to do battle, this is already a harbinger of the fact that the whole reason why Shmuel was upset with Klal Yisrael for choosing a melech, that as long as you had me as the Navi, nothing bad is going to happen to you, we see very straight evidence for that in this Hagdama. But Pasuk Aleph, Perek Chavches, Vahi Bayamim Ha'em, Vayipetzu Plishtim et Machaneim Latzaval Elechem B'Yisrael. Plishtim are gathering their forces to fight. Vayomer Achish shel David. So Achish, Melech Gas, Yadoa Teda ki iti tetzeh b'machaneh. He commands David, you're going to come with me in the fight. Atav anashacha, you and your 600. He actually appoints him to like his bodyguard, rather than go out. Where is? Oh, here, I'm sorry. Now, the Abarbanel shows, David is conflicted. What do you mean I'm going to go out with Achish to fight other Jews? So David decided, I'm just going to protect Achish and not to fight with Yisrael. And therefore he remained loyal to Achish, but certainly the Abarbanel says David HaMelech never had in mind that he was going to fight with any Jews, not even for 1 second. So Vayomer David al Achish, Pasuk Beis, Lachen ata teda et asher yaseh avdecha. Vayomer Achish al David lachen shomer l'rosh yasimcha kol hayamim. I'm going to make you my, the head of my personal bodyguard. So here is the Pasuk Gimel Ushmuel Meis Vayispedu lo kol Yisrael. Now you should be jumping all over me. What do you mean? A few prokim ago we were told that Shmuel died. They buried him in Ramah city. Shaul removed the ovot and the yidonim from the aretz. Now let's just a little background. Of the yidoni, as mentioned in the Torah, this was a form of necromancy, bringing, telling the future through raising the dead, and the dead would know things and they would inform them to you. Ov, the Balas Ov, there would be a voice coming from a person's armpit, The Yidoni was a bone of a mace that was put into a person's mouth, and whatever question would be asked, the voice would come out of the bone. That's the difference between Ov and Yidoni. Now, Okay. So, by the way, the pasuk talks there about chover, snake charming, and we're going to have a very intense machlokas rishonim, the Rambam versus the Radak versus others. Did this thing really have power or not? The Rambam holds it was magic, didn't have any real power. The Rambam is the rationalist, who, if it doesn't have physical law, it doesn't exist. The Radak say, no, absolutely, kishuf. The concept we had before had power. Like we talked about Zelu Umat Zeh, that since there were Nevi'im, there's Beis HaMikdash, there's miracles, there's a very strong power of Kedusha, so there's a very strong power of Tumah as well. Because otherwise, you wouldn't have Bechira. If the power of Kedusha was really high and the power of Tumah is very low, then it'd be very easy for people to choose Kedusha. But it's the Rav Dessler talks a lot about this, that Hashem makes it so that the powers are made even. Zelu umat zeh. So that's the sheet of the Radak, that these things really had power. I just want to tell you a story that was told to me. It was a psychologist who lives in Los Angeles, who told me when he was in graduate school for psychology, they went to China as part of their studies, and they came out to a little village, and they were studying paranormal psychology. You know, people who could bend spoons and people who could have, like Uri Geller, all that. That was what that's what they were studying in their research. And they brought forth a child that the villagers said, this child, can tell the future. This is some little dinky town in China in the middle of nowhere. Okay. And they asked the child, well, do you see these things? Do you hear them? What is it? And the child says, I hear it from my armpit. I hear a voice from my armpit. So that tells us that this thing does exist. It's not very rampant because Koach HaKedusha is lowered, so Koach HaTumah is lowered, but it's not like it doesn't exist. Again, we could debate what is it? Is it some kind of supernatural power, or is it some kind of magic act like the Rambam says? So on Shmuel's death, Shaul goes out and destroys all of the sites of Ovos v'Yedonim from Eretz Yisrael. Let's see Rashi. Shmuel Meis. Harei kvar nemar vayom Shmuel. It already says Shmuel died. We're not going to see a story that Shaul is fearful about going to battle against the Plishtim. We're going to see that he wasn't answered by the Urim V'Tumim. He tried. There were no Nevi'im to give him an answer. So in the end, he was going to go the way of an Ov. So Patach former Shmuel Meis. To give us the point that if Shmuel was alive, Shaul wouldn't have to go this way. Because I'll tell us that this was the final seal that ended Shaul's Malucha, when he sought out the Balas Ov. But he started off, says Rashi, Shaul Esira Ovos, V'hutzrich levakesh isha balasoiv. Since he wiped out all the regular Ovos, we're going to see his people who had carried out the act of wiping out all the Balas Ov, they knew about this woman and they didn't kill her. So in the end, there was a woman still left who could participate in this. By the way, it's very interesting. We see women. Women are oftentimes involved in kishuf. We know Mechashefa lo sechayeh. Mechashefa is a witch. We know Macbeth, the three witches, toil and trouble. It's a female thing. We can go into a discussion of that, but that's not for here.
Are you saying that women are witches, Ernie?
What I'm saying is,
I just want to clarify the point.
I said when the Torah seems, when they're referring to Balas Kishuf, the examples that are usually given are.
Ernie, you're on very, very dangerous territory.
So it may be that they have certain intuitions, Bina Yisera. I'm saying we have to investigate why it is. I don't have a discussion for tonight regarding that.
I guess the Yiddish language liked it too because they called certain women machashefes. It's okay.
But the din of Machashefa lo sechayeh refers to a witch who's practicing sorcery.
Right.
Doing certain activities that the Gemara explains what it is they do, and you can put them to death for that.
Look, you even had it in the early days of America, right? Witch hunt, witchcraft, burning witches at the stake.
Right.
It was still going on in New England.
The Scarlet Letter,
Yeah.
that was all.
Right. Right.
And I think Lavan also used magic.
Right. So we're going to get to the Rambam where we discuss what this is, whether this is real, whether it's not real. So first of all, I just want to read a number of, in Baba Basra it says, Shmuel Kosov Sifro. Who wrote Sefer Shmuel? Shmuel. Yeah, but what about after he died?
Yirmiyahu.
Vahaksi
Natan.
Vahaksi Shmuel Meis. Shesimu Oto Gad HaChose V'Noson Anovi. So, right, when we say Vayomer David El Gad in Tachanun, so there was Gad HaChose and Noson Anovi. And then we had, last week, we mentioned that after they died, Yirmiyahu finished it. So that's one shot. Yeah. Then it says in Chulin, there was a great Amora named Shmuel, Rav and Shmuel. So before Rav Yochanan went to visit Shmuel in Bavel, Omer Leili Yenuka, Psok li psukecha. He asked the child, "What's the pasuk today?" There used to be like queen for a day. There was a pasuk for a day. Everyone learned the same pasuk, and they would ask a child, "What's the pasuk today?" Right? Omer Lei u'Shmuel Meis. So the child told him, "The pasuk we learned today is this pasuk Shmuel Meis." Omer Shmamino nach nafshe Shmuel. So Rav Yochanan got a hint from there. Must be that Shmuel died. But the answer, Velohi, lo shach Shmuel. It happened, they wanted to prevent Rabbi Yochanan from having to travel so far. But it wasn't really correct. When it says Vayispedu lo kol Yisrael, Ton Rabbanon, B'shas ptiras chacham kol ha'am chayavin bespedo. Those of us in the Daf Yomi now Moed Cotton, when the Nasi dies, so the whole Klal Yisrael has to be in Avos. D'chsiv u'Shmuel meis vayispedu lo kol Yisrael. U'ksiv vayama Shmuel vayikavtzu kol Yisrael vayispedu lo. Midama kol Yisrael l'shmamina denikbetzu. If it says kol Yisrael, we know they gathered. Ela debachu bayoros. You know what? They didn't all travel to Ramah, where Shmuel was buried. They all made hespedim in their own city. Why? Hizek kvodah shel Shmuel. Shehu haya mahalech mi'ir le'ir u'nedida l'mdida l'mdenu Torah. Ma shalosa ke novi v'novi. Shenemar v'halach midei shana b'shana v'savav beitei v'gilgal. U'tshuvato ramata kisham beito v'sham shafatet Yisrael. Shmuel was a traveling judge. He went from city to city. Because of that, they were nichnas into all the Batei Knesios in their own cities and were maspid Shmuel. So it just shows Mida Keneged Mida, a person is treated the way he acted in life.
And can I just say, maybe it's the fact that it's mentioning that Shmuel had died, and it's contiguous to necromancy, seeking out necromancy when he was alive, and he made himself accessible to the entire nation by traveling. There was no need for them to seek any other way of getting information. He was their source. Now that he was no longer alive, they had to explore other options.
So it's exactly what Rashi said in Gimel, right? She'ilo hayakayim imenu hayashol dorish. It means if Shmuel was alive, you wouldn't have to go to the Balasov. Absolutely. So Pasuk Dalet, vayikbitzu plishtim, vayavo vaychanu b'shunem. So the plishtim ended up in Shunem. Vayikbot Shaul kol Yisrael vaychanu b'Gilboa. Shaul gathers his forces, and they are in Gilboa. Shunem is a village closer to Israel. We know the Isha Shunamit, which is going to appear in the time of Elisha. However, the Plishtim come with a very big army. Vayar Shaul is machane Plishtim vayira vayichrad libo me'od. Shaul is very fearful when he sees the army of. On here, there's a lot of midrashim that says V'shol lo kachas amlucha en ksiv kan. It says V'shol lo chad amlucha al Yisrael. that he sort of took the melucha b'kochu gvura. Chazal explain it was bischut mitzvahs u'maisim tovim shahayu biyadu. He had special zechuyos. What were the zechuyos? Number one, shahaya ani. He was poor. If you remember when he first was seeking the Shmuel, he didn't have any money. Number two, oichel chulin b'tahara. He ate his chulin b'tahara. We see because there was a pasuk that says bilti tahor. He didn't. Shaul is not a Kohen. Regular Jews are not commanded to stay away from things that are tamei. Kohanim have to stay away from things that are tamei. It's a law for them to be metame themselves. But there were tzaddikim who ate their chulin b'tahara. Like if you were eating kotchim, right? You could, if you brought a korban shlomim to the base of Mikdash and brought it as a korban, you were allowed to eat the meat, but that's a korban. So there you'd have to, if you were a balkari, you'd have to go to the mikveh. You could not eat that korban in a state of tumah, even as a regular Yisrael. But chulin, which is not hegdish food, technically there was no special din that you had to eat it b'tahara. But special tzaddikim, in the time of Chazal, they were called chaverim. We juxtapose chaver versus am haaretz. And am haaretz at that time didn't mean he didn't know anything. He was an ignoramus. Like we use that colloquial meaning now. But technically an am haaretz meant he didn't really know the dinim of tumah. A chaver was somebody who was very careful that even his chulin he ate b'tahara. Why? It was sort of a practice, because he knew that sometimes he would go to the base of Mikdash, sometimes he would eat kotchim. So they drilled themselves in remaining in eating chulin, even b'tahara. And Shaul was something like that. Umevaz bezes mamono, he gave away charity, like when it said vayikach tzemed bakar vayinatech vayishlach. L'chas al mamonim shel Yisrael, because we don't see that Shaul ever passed great amount of taxes on Klal Yisrael. He was not careful. He didn't stand on his covet, which in some way we have discussed before was a problem since he was a melech. He was a ben Torah, says Reish Lakish, in that same sugya. However, kivin shechata vayavo Shaul zmachna plishtim. Shaul lost his zechuyos that he had gained carefully with all of these actions, and that's how he's ending up with this machna plishtim. So Vayishal, pasuk vav, Vayishal Shaul b'Hashem, v'lo ana Hashem. Shaul asked from Hashem what to do. We know Shaul himself was a Navi, right? Hagam Shaul b'Navim. So he asked himself personally, but Hashem didn't answer. Chazal say shnistal kashchina mimenu. Why? As Rashi says, Gam be'urim lefi shaharag nov yera kohanim lo nana. When he tried to ask the Urim v'Tumim, he was also not answered there because as a punishment for the fact that he had killed out the city of the Kohanim in Nov. Sometimes people are answered by Hashem in Chaloimois, and he wasn't answered by Chalom either. Now, who was carrying the Urim v'Tumim? So, Evyasar HaKohen, however, was with David. Some say that he sent it anyways, and David allowed him to do it. Some say that everybody had an ephod. The Ramban says in Shmos Kafches ephod bar haya bebeget shlavshu kol kohanim v'chol gedol Yisrael v'haya ba'urim v'tumim shayicholim l'shol Hashem. So the Ramban holds that the Urim v'Tumim wasn't just by the Kohen Gadol, that other Gedolim had access. The Even Ezra says no, it's got to be only on the Choshen Mishpat, which is the breastplate that only the Kohen Gadol wore.
Ernie, can I describe an interesting paragraph here that the Me'am Loe says about
Please.
Shelat Chalom. He actually describes it. I don't know if you have it there to discuss.
Go ahead.
Says, after fasting for 3 days and immersing himself in a mikveh, a person seeking counsel from Shemayim would recite the Tehillim Perek Yud Beis, have in mind the holy name of God associated with the psalm. Then after certain additional verses and special prayers, he would specify his question, place a sheet of paper under his pillow, and ask that the answer appear in the morning. Upon awaking, he would find written on the paper either the first or last letters of the words of a particular verse. This in turn would require deciphering, which necessitated that the questioner be learned and understanding of the esoteric teachings of the Torah.
So that's how the Chaloimos worked. That's how you got answered by Chaloimos.
Yeah.
Okay. So therefore now Shaul's at his wit's end. He doesn't know, should he go into battle with Plishtim or not? Pasuk Zayin. Vayomer Shaul avadav. Bakshuli eshes balas ov. Find me a woman who can do this ov necromancy. Ve'elcha eleha. I will go to her. Ve'edrish haba, and we will ask from her. Vayomru avadav elav. Hinei eshes balas ov be'ein dor. There is a woman in Ein Dor who is a balas ov. Well, obviously, this pasuk requires great explanation. So first of all, some say that the woman was Eshes Tzefania imo shel Avner. That this woman was the wife, was the mother of Avner, right? The general of Shaul. She learned it from Sanhedrin. Shahayu yodim kshafim lo lasos ma'aseh el lahavin olaharos. So this was a righteous woman. So the question is, how did she know this ov business? So Sanhedrin are going to have to adjudicate cases that come before them. Someone is going to be brought to Bezdin with 2 Eidim, and they're going to say, we saw this person do the act of ov. Well, if there were not experts in the Sanhedrin who knew about ov, they wouldn't be able to adjudicate the case. So there were experts, and Chazal tell us that this woman had learned it through Sanhedrin. Now, what about this concept of ov yudini and in general kishuv? So I'm going to read the Rambam. This is in Perek Yud Aleph, Hilchas Mamrim. Udvar ma'elu kishuv kulan divrei sheker v'kazav heim. So the Rambam puts down his flag. He says this is magic. This is sleight of hand. This is not real. They're hiding somebody under the table, like Houdini. Okay, this is not real, says the Rambam. Supernatural things don't occur usually. These early practitioners it would fool people so that they would follow them. Jewish people that are smart should not follow of this. It's just shtus. Doesn't have any power, doesn't have anything. I'm going to read
Ernie, you brought up before Uri Geller and bending spoons. He just opened up a museum, the Uri Geller Museum in Yafa, I think, in Israel. He has all of his career in there of bending spoons.
Okay. There's a famous gra in Yoredeya, Kufay and Tes. I'm going to read it to you. Harambam, Beferish HaMishnah, Perek Daled Davaris Kachavim, says what he said. Says the Grav al Kolaboim Achrav Chilku Alav. But the people came after the Rambam argued with him. Sharei Harbe Lachashim Nemru B'Gemara. So first of all, we have many, what's the word? Incantations, where the Gemara says you say this and this will happen. Which seems to imply that there's some activity to this action. So listen to what the Gra says. The Rambam was influenced by the cursed philosophy, right? The Rambam studied Aristotle and Plato and understood Greek rationalism, the beginning of science, right? So the Gra disagrees with him completely. That's why Lachen Kosov Shekshofshim V'Shemos Lachashim V'Shedim ghosts, V'Kameus, amulets, Hakolu Sheker. That's why the Rambam said. Aval Kvar Hiku Otan Al Kad Kadko. The Rambam already has been hacked on his skull. Sharei Matzinu Harbe Masios Bigmor Al Pi Shemos Ukshafim. So it's a wild Gra, correct? You know, the Gra lived in 1800, right? Very rare that an Achron is going to argue with the Rambam. But now the Ramban and the Chinuch say Kishufu Davar Shu B'Mitzias Abriya Udeloka Rambam. It's part of the natural world, whatever this is. However, there are Isurim Ba'ov. Echad La Shoel, Dehu Bala Ov, Shu Shoel Sa'ov Ala Davar Anishal Mimenu, V'Chayev Misa. The person who's been asked and hears the voice from his armpit, he's Chayev Misa. V'gam Isser Sheni La Nishal Hu Shoel Mimenu, V'gon Shoel. There's an Isser to even ask the Balas Oiv. That's not Chayev Misa, but it's an Oiver and a Lav. We see that in Parshas Kedoshim, Perek Yutes. So what's going on here? Shoel HaNavi is a tzaddik. How can he be seen asking from an Ov? It's Oiver a Lav. So the Oinig Yontif, in the Shalos and Shuvas, the Oinig Yontif says, he was of the opinion that it was permitted to ask of the Oval. The Pasuk in Dvarim says, Ki ata ba'ala aretz asher Hashem Elokecha noten lach lo tilmad la'asot, don't learn k'to'avot hagoyim ha'en, like the following abominations. Lo yimatzeh b'cha ma'avir b'no v'ito ba'esh. Don't walk your children through a parallel of fire. Kosem ksamim, doing magic tricks. Me'onein u'menachesh u'mechashev. V'chover chaver, being a snake charmer. V'shoel ovi yidoni, v'doresh la'mesim. Ki to'avas Hashem kol osa eila. This is an abomination. Uviglala to'avas ha'eila Hashem lokecha morisho tamim panecha. Tamim tiyeh Hashem lokecha. You should be a tamim. Ki agoyim ha'eila asher ata yereshotam el mo'onanim ve'el kosmin yishmau. They follow this stuff. Ve'ata lochein. Nasan l'cha Hashem lokecha. Navi b'kibrecha me'achacha kamoni yakim l'cha Hashem lokecha. Elav tishmau. You have to listen to the Navi. So it's very clear that the Torah commanded not to ask of the Oivos. However, Shaul thought that he already asked the Urim V'Tumim, the Nevi'im, the Chaloimis, and he wasn't answered. So now he was permitted because the Pasuk said, listen, you're supposed to ask the Navi. Well, if I don't have the Navi, this is the next best thing. And the Orach Chaim HaKodesh, there in Dvarim Yud Ches says, that means the prohibition, says the Orach Chaim, is only when there's no when there's a Navi. But without a Navi, you'd be able to ask. That's one pshat in why Shaul was allowed to do that. There are other pshatim that says this was pikuach nefesh, right? People, chas v'shalom, that they were in the concentration camp. To save their lives, they're allowed to eat non-kosher food. You're allowed to violate any lav in the Torah for pikuach nefesh, except three, right? Gilui arayos, shfichos damim, avodah zarah. But we see that the asking is only a lav. It's not avodah zarah. It's not, the din of avodah zarah is like bowing down to an idol. So this is not part of that. This is a special lav. And therefore, the decision to fight against the Plishtim is taking upon importance because all Klal Yisrael is going to fight. So he needed hadracha. And since Hashem didn't answer, he was under the impression that he could ask to the Ov because nothing stands in the way of pikuach nefesh. I think that's an important pshat here. So the Shulchan Aruch, they bring the Shulchan Aruch in Yoredeya, Kufay and Tes says, Mi sherodfim acharav nachash va'akrav. A snake or a scorpion is chasing after somebody. Mutar lechaver kadesh lo yaziku. Right? You know, the Indian snake charmers, where they're playing some kind of flute and then the cobra is coming up from the basket. So mutar lechaver kadesh lo yaziku. You can hire a chaver to, I guess, play whatever that is and have them follow him to save them, because this is considered, the Shach over there says, Ein lecha davar she'oimed bifnei pikuach nefesh. Chutz ma'avadas kachavim gilai rais v'shirchas damim. Harei chaver lo avi avodah zara. And Ovi Yadoni is in the same category. Okay. And this is a complicated sugya. It's important to go through this. Okay. Pasuk Ches. Vaischapes Shaul. He changed garments. He didn't want to go to the Balas Oiv like the king. He wanted to go anonymously, that he wouldn't be recognized. Yeshoimim Yoim Haya. The Musa Navim said it was the daytime. It's not sneers to go to a woman at night. However, but because they were in such, because the pasuk here is going to say it was night. Who the Shnei Anoshim imo? It's going to be Avner and Amasha, his two main generals. Rashi says, even though it says Vayavo Isha Laila, Vayomer Kasmi Nali Ba'ov, do this magic with the Ov, Va'alili et Asher Omar Lecha, and raise from the dead, that do I tell you. And Rashi says, Yomaya, let me talk Tsarosa Maya Doimilan Laila. That's Kach Dosh Ravim Tanchumo. Rashi, the Medrash Rabbah, Vayikra Rabbah says, when it says Vayischape Shol, Vayilbash Kadim Acherim, Vayischape Nase Chofshi L'Malchuso. He abandoned his kingship through this act. That's the concept of Chape, right? Chofshi from Malchus. Ki Ayidei Achet Hazeh Sheshol Ba'ov Nismale Sato Va'avad Azes Malchuso. This was the final straw that kicked over the basket of his malchus.
Ernie, it says El Ha'isha Laila. It should have said Ba Laila if it was actually at night. I think the Mefarshim say that it appeared like it was night. There was no reason they were disguised. There was no reason for them to go at night. It was actually during the day.
Right, and then so Rashi says, Yomaya, Elami toch tsarosam hayadom elehem laila. Because of so much distress, it's like being at night.
Mm-hmm.
But Tomer Aishai Lav. So the woman says, the woman was suspecting that they were tricking her. The word had gotten out that they had destroyed all the Ovyadonim. And now they're probably coming to see whether I'm going to do it and they're going to kill me. You're like trying to make me stumble. And like a, Altitain Michshol, right? And she was initially in doubt that she was being tricked. So Pasuk Yud, Vayishava la Shol, Hashem limor. Shol took an oath. Chai Hashem, im yikrei chovam b'dav razeh. You don't have to worry. I'm not. So some of Forshim say he said to her, I'm not going to tell anybody about it. So therefore you won't be punished, because in order to be punished, you have to have Eidim. So that's one shot in the Shavua that he took. Others say that since, like we went through, that Shaul thought that it was permitted for him to do it because it was pikuach nefesh, or like we said before, so he had no problem taking a shvuah that there's not going to be an onsh min hashamayim because it's permitted for me to do this. V'tomer Aisha, et mi alalach. Okay, so who should I bring up from the dead? Vayomer et Shmuel Halili. I want you to bring up Shmuel. By the way, there's drushes here by using the word me, right? She's hinting, well, by coming to ask from the Ov, in essence, are you a Rasha? Are you Kofer Ba'Hashem? And therefore, maybe I should bring you up the other person who said, Mi Hashem, which was Paro. Remember? Paro said, Mi Hashem Asher Eshma Elav. Who is Hashem? Or, are you a tzaddik? And the me is Bi Chamocha Balim Hashem. And so therefore, that's why Shaul answered, bring me up Shmuel. He was the Rabban of all the Nevi'im. I don't want Paro, I want Shmuel. Vatera ha'isha et Shmuel. Now Chazal say that the person who brings up the dead can see but cannot hear his voice. The one who asks the questions can hear his voice, but doesn't see him. So that's why it says here, Vatera ha'isha et Shmuel, right? Vatizak b'kol gadol. Vatomer ha'isha el Shaul lemor lama rimisani v'ata Shaul. Now she recognizes Shmuel is not going to appear to any commoner. She understands now that this must be Shaul HaMelech, who is in front of her. And therefore she's afraid about that. Not only that, regular Rashi says, Shirasa oila shelo kedercha oilim. Shmuel came up not in the normal way that these necromancers would bring the dead up.
She didn't divinate.
They would come feet first from the ground. But v'zeh ola rosh lamala b'shul kvoda shel Shaul. But because of the kavod for Shaul, Shmuel came up head first and not feet first. So again, the same Rishonim have the same machlokas. The Rambam says, "Iyevshar lahachayos hameis b'chochmas ha'ov." There's no ability that Ov is going to be mechay mesim. V'chas v'sholom sha'isha hi techayas Shmuel v'taleh. Hamlocha he says the Rambam's hakol meleches tachbulos v'ziyuf. It's Harry Houdini. It's they have people hiding. Ki kira b'm yadshu Shaul v'lo ratzah legaloselo ad lacha mikan shamalo lama rimisani. Derech Kobalas Oiv, says Rabbeinu Bachai, of course, who follows in the Rambam, who was a rationalist. Shetachvi ben Adam, they would hide a person. V'hu medaber benachas mitoch ha'machabe, and the voice they would hear is from some closet. But v'yesh oimrim ki haya Shmuel mamish, right? That's the paper, the Ramban, and the people who said that no Kishuv had power. And it was who Gidlo called Vermanis Karim Parsha, and it was Shmuel who said all these things, and that's the das of Chazal and Chagiga Dalid, Amid Beis. How could it be that you can revive a dead person through Chochmas Ha'ov? Rav Haigon, Rabbeinu Sadia, says that the woman didn't make him live. Hashem Yisborach did it. Says Rav Haigon, Rav Sadia Gon, Rochok hu sheteda yisha tidot. She can't know the future. V'chein shetachayes hameis b'chochmas ha'ov. Ach Hashem Yisborach hachayei Shmuel. כדי לספר לשאול את כל הקורוס העתידות לבוא עליו. Next week, we're going to learn what did Shmuel reveal to Shaul. He's going to reveal the future to him. Vayisha lo yada b'chol eila klal. And the woman had no say in it. Okay, so I think we've laid the ground. It's a very, very interesting parak, about the famous parak of Shaul asking the Balas Oiv to bring Shmuel HaNavi up. Now, what exactly Shmuel HaNavi is going to say to Shaul, and what it leads to, we're gonna learn next week. Any further comments on what we learned tonight?
Ernie,
Yes.
there's a phone call for you, Ernie.
On a more serious comment, and the pasuk says, "Vatomer Isha el Shaul Elohim Roisi Olim," in the plural form, not one individual rising, but Olim in the plural. Who are the two people? Are you going to comment on that the next time we have a shir, or do you want me to speak about that?
Continue.
Okay, so according to the Me'am Loez, who did she see? She saw the spirit of Shmuel and of Moshe Rabbeinu.
Oh yeah, yeah. I have that drasha.
Okay,
Continue.
so you go ahead and give it next week.
Continue.
All right?
Continue, Bernie.
Why did Moshe ascend? So Shmuel was convinced that he himself was being called to the Beis Din Shel Mala because it was within the 12-month period after he was nifter. So Shmuel insisted that Moshe Rabbeinu should accompany him. He wanted Moshe to testify that he, Shmuel, had not let even one of the Torah's commandments go unfulfilled. This, according to some, is hinted on in the words, "An old man ascends, and he is adorned in a robe." The old man is Moshe, and the one adorned in a robe is Shmuel.
Right, because Shmuel all of a sudden has been awakened from death. When does that happen? The final judgment day, Valu Moshe Bar Tzion, all the people who have died, there's Tchias HaMeisim, and there's a judgment day. So Shmuel thought that this was the final judgment day. So that's where Bernie's coming up, that he brought Moshe Rabbeinu along sort of as a character witness. Because you're going to be judged in front of Hashem. So he wanted Moshe Rabbeinu with him.
Right, if you need an aid, it should be Moshe Rabbeinu.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So if you learn this, and it's very hard to understand, then you can really believe in the afterlife, that you will be revived from the dead, if people can rise up from the dead. I mean, if someone can bring somebody up that's dead and they can rise up,
right,
and they can talk.
But Esther, you see major machlokas rishonim between the Rambam and Rabbeinu Bachai, who said this was all
in the imagination.
No, it was magic. They had a hidden person.
Kishul.
I read it. Huh?
No,
Yeah, it's Kishul, but
like Houdini, like it's a sleight of hand. It's not real.
Yeah, but why would the Tanakh write this? I don't know.
No. So no. What the Tanakh is writing? The Rishonim are debating what was the essence of oath. Did it work or did it not work? So the Rambam says it didn't work. It was these were magic acts.
But what she said in the end came
true. The Ramban says no, in a Chanami, it was real. And the question is, how could Ov do it? So they say Hashem did it.
But
but what she said in the end came true.
I think she was surprised with the results. So she realized it wasn't something that she had created. It came from Hashem.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.